So no doubt the Grasshopper certainly is a very interesting mech. And from the name alone, it certainly isn't going to strike fear into the heart of mech warriors. Say like a Marauder, Warhammer, Battlemaster. These are mechs that Stalker. Well, Stalker's an assault mech. But you start to get a little nervous when you hear these names. Grasshopper, you think of like, okay, is it a pumped up locust? Should I be afraid of this thing? And I have to say, the genesis, the start of this analysis, focuses on the question I was asked, Fritz, top 5 heavy mechs. Top 5 heavy mechs that excel regardless of the combat situation and support situation on the table. First thing that comes to mind that I've enjoyed playing, that I have disenjoyed, not enjoyed playing against, and something that works well everywhere is the Grasshopper. So here we have a heavy mech, decent armor, decent maneuverability, jump capability. That alone opens up so many movement options, opens up the possibility for death from above, where it's serious death from above. I mean, like mech crushing death from above. And if you're successful or not, you can still take that damage on your legs. Case in point, a game from over the summer, I was in a bad place. I was. My pirate force was just getting torn up by House Davian, and it was at the end of the campaign. So at this point, it really didn't matter what damage I was going to take or not take. So I just went all out, and I had a spider. The craziest spider pilot in the inner sphere. 3 death from above, death or glory, attacks. All 3 hit. Minimal damage caused, but it was insane. And finally, the legs on the spider just totally tore off, and like the left torso just tore off from the stress on that. Grasshopper, death from above, especially if you're using some elevation, you're on top of a building or something like that. That's a challenge. Punching, physical attacks, kicking, it excels on there. But the real power of the Hopper, in my opinion, it really, in terms of heavy mechs, and the question I want to ask to you guys, can you name a mech with a better weapons loadout? So you have the LRM in the head, which allows you to pump out some shots at long range on the way in. Just some stuff to kind of soften things up or keep the opponent on their toes on there. I'm not looking for epic, earth-shattering LRM 20 spam damage, but it's something to do on the way in. When you close in, now you have a large laser. Okay, it's not PPC damage, PPC range, but a large laser is still pretty decent on there. And then when you get to the medium lasers, this is where it really excels. That it can dish out the medium laser damage, and it has the heat to back it up. It can pump that out. You don't really have to worry about heat. And almost it's kind of interesting, heavy mechs, the key to damage, in my opinion, for Battletech is being able to, at every single range of the game, amplify and damage and get closer and get closer and get closer and do more damage to where you finally close. You want to do damage in the shooting phase, and then I want to do damage in the physical phase, pushing, charging, kicking, punching, death from above, whatever it's going to be on there. Certain heavy and assault mechs, just based on the tonnage alone, where you want to get into physical attacks. You want to be shin kicking with that stalker in there. Certain mechs, the loadout, the Jaeger mech, the rifleman, it wants to keep you away at range. And it works, but then you're missing out on the close combat potential. The Grasshopper wants to get really close to bring all those medium lasers to bear. You want to get to point blank range. As long as I'm there, I might as well get into kicking and punching range. The Hopper at close range, and maybe that's the point of the name on there, it puts out a ton of damage. And again, the armor, it can take a lot of damage. You can zombie mech it, and it's good, right? You blow off those arms. It's still got some weapons that it can output. The Awesome is an example of this. And I love running Awesomes. Chaining the 2 PPCs in the left and right torso, that's good, but you still have one in the arm. Or like a Marauder or a Warhammer. You get an arm blown off, well, now you only have one. I'd rather be firing 2 because I know if I can keep my movement modifiers down and I can prevent my opponent from getting in cover. I can't necessarily prevent them from how far or faster they're going to move unless you cause hip damage or something like that. That I can't control, but I can control my own movement modifiers, and I can potentially control cover modifiers based on the area of approach and the mission objectives and scorched earth policies with my fire starter and all that type of stuff. So I would like to have those 2 PPCs shooting to hit. You get an arm blown off, you only have one. The Grasshopper can still function. And as a minor point, although it's not a pure energy mech, it doesn't have the liability of the duality of some of these heavy mechs and assault mechs. The armor on them makes you want to close. It makes you want to get up there. Think about the Stalker, right? Even though you can't cook everything off, what makes it fearsome is it's answering at every range. And then once it gets to close range with the SRM packs and potential physical attacks and the laser attacks, the mediums and the large lasers, it wants to sit there and pump that stuff out. The converse of that is you're taking a lot of damage back. At some point, your mech is going to start going to internals. Do you want that to happen? And now you have multiple ammo pack weapon systems in there, and we're not talking tech levels with case and hardened type stuff on there. You start to get nervous. You're a Stalker pilot, and you've got a lot of armor. You get your left side blown out and go into internals. Okay, you're going to try and turn. You're going to try and pivot. But now things get really interesting. Or if you want to go for an alpha, things are getting desperate and just flip that switch and cook everything off, you're probably going to ammo explode on there. The Grasshopper, less of it. Well, you still have the ammo explode, but you could get rid of the ammo on there. But you don't have to worry as much about as minimal as possible not being a pure energy mech. So it's kind of the benefits of having the LRM to pepper stuff out, but having the benefits of a pure energy mech. Definitely a winner. Definitely a mech that the challenge is there's so many mechs that I love that I don't run the Grasshopper as much as I should, not because there's anything wrong with it or it's bad at all, but rather I have a stable of other mechs that I constantly cycle through, but it does hit the table enough. My only one complaint, battle value seems a little bit too high. It does. I think I'd like to see it come down by 100 points on there. But obviously that's something I can't control and I need to account for in my list building. So in the comments, your thoughts on the Grasshopper. And if you had to name your top 5 all-around heavy mechs that are going to start making you a little bit nervous when they appear on the table, or heavy mechs that you like to play because they don't really have any limitations. They're well-rounded brawler, assaulter, damage-type mechs. What would they be?